right, hi everyone. Welcome to our inaugural Couch to 5K at Dun Dun. I'm very excited to see everybody here. I'm glad that we're recording this for those of us who couldn't make it at the kickoff session today, but let's get started. So my name's Amelia. I am a fitness coach at Dun Dun Fitness. I am also a nurse practitioner by day. I was recently certified by the Roadrunners Club of America to be a running coach, which I'm super excited about. And I also have a pending certification for the DOT, which we'll get into it a little bit, but essentially looks at VO2 max, a person's aerobic capacity or in combination with their fitness level. So that's exciting as well. And this is just a picture of myself and one of my parents' dogs there. So to kind of get started, I wanted to talk about my personal running journey. I'll get to this slide in just a second, but my personal experience with running hasn't always been happy and fun, I guess you could say. So I started running in 2017 after my dad's second heart attack, trying to kind of get ahead of any increased genetic risk for development of health diseases. And so just started running kind of casually then through college. And then in 2022, after I graduated college, I decided to get more competitive with my running. And so I started running more often, more intense, but then I started to develop injuries. I then ended up joining Dun Dun because my thought was, well, let me increase my muscle mass, let me get stronger so that I can prevent those injuries from happening, which is only just one way of doing that, but that's an aside. And I joined Dun Dun 2022 and started to get faster. And then I kind of hit a plateau a little bit because I was still just, kind of, I would say, lollygagging around with my running, even though the strength training has been so very helpful. And I decided to get a running coach in 2023. And that's when I noticed that, okay, running training is a little bit different than I had expected as a runner, and it actually got me interested in being a coach. So I've included this slide here just to give some perspective. This is just in 1 year, in January of 2023 to December of 2023, I was able to improve my 5K time by almost 4 minutes, incorporating strength training at Dun Dun, cross training at Dun Dun, as well as my running coach, who is also RRCA certified, incorporating the RRCA running methods, which we will be doing in our program here. So I've been through it all. I've had really bad experiences with running starting in high school, it being used as a form of punishment. If you guys remember running the mile in high school, middle school, maybe even elementary school, I had a poor experience with that. But now I wouldn't know what I would do without running. So I'm hoping perhaps maybe I could help to get your perspective to change on running as well. And I should say too, when I talk about running, I talk about walking, jogging, walk jogging, walk running. Anyone can be a runner. And that's kind of a good segue into our program here. So we are signed up for a 6-week program, and actually it's 7 weeks. So that's a little extra tidbit there. It's going to lead up to the I Love Mom 5K on March 12th, which is a Sunday, organized by Fusion Racing, which is a racing organization largely in Delaware. The race is going to be in Newark, Delaware. Your program fee did not include the race fee just because it is on Mother's Day. We didn't want you to have to pay for the program, and if you weren't able to make the 5K, you have to pay for the 5K as well. But we will be getting a discount code for that, so we can share that with you. If you can't make the penultimate run, which is that 5K, no worries. We'll work with you. We'll try to figure out a good run or race to do to look at your progress, to see how you've been doing in this program. So what is included in this program? We have a customized training plan. So if you weren't able to be at the in-person kickoff meeting today, no worries. We have the customized training plan that we will get to you. It incorporates your goals that you had written down in your athlete intake form when you signed up for the program. And we'll get into that in a little bit as well. And hopefully we can clarify some goals, which will help me be able to coach you better as well. It includes some weekly organized group runs, which will take place on Sundays, normally around 7 or 8 a.m. And we'll give you information about where to look for those. We'll be able to get you hooked into the HSN, the Healthy Steps Nutrition app, as well as the Facebook running club at DDF, so that we can give you updates on those weekly runs. But those are planned for Sunday mornings. Of course, a supportive community, very helpful to have people who are currently in your shoes, who have been, who will be, very helpful to have that type of community. Check-ins included, and even pre-race planning. So when we get closer to that I Love Mom 5K, we'll talk about how we can plan better, pace strategies, fatigue strategies, nutrition strategies, form stretching, etc., and then tips and tricks along the way. All right. So why running? Anyone can be a runner. And like I said, when I talk about running, I'm talking about running. Maybe when you think of a runner, you think of Usain Bolt sprinting. You think about jogging, walking. Anyone can do it. It's such a versatile exercise. It can be done almost anywhere. Minimal equipment and perhaps cost included, unless you're me, who has like 50 pairs of running shoes and races. But as an aside, most importantly, it's a great form of exercise to build your aerobic capacity, or essentially your body's ability to use oxygen efficiently. Just as a little note at the bottom here, I did write a recent blog on the Dun Dun website regarding aerobic capacity and zone 2 training. We'll get into that a little bit during this presentation, but the blog, I think, is a really good introduction into understanding what aerobic training is and how running might play a role into that as well. All right, so the first step for you, okay, I want you to be able to clarify your goals. Now, again, I know you completed the athlete intake form, and you guys did a great job getting into the details of what you would like to do, what you currently do, maybe some potential obstacles, what your current strengths are. But I would like you to try to clarify your goals a little bit more. And what I mean by that is two things. So I want to focus on SMART goals, so them being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, as well as making A, B, and C goals. Okay, so I'll give examples in a minute, but to kind of go into a little bit into the A, B, C goals, because I feel like that's not as well known. These are going to be tiered goals. Okay, so your A goal is going to be like your reach goal. That's the goal that you would get on your best day. Your B goal is going to be maybe like a match goal or an anticipated goal, something that you'll be able to get. And then a C goal is going to be a safe goal. Okay, so even on your worst day, you're going to be able to get that goal. Okay, and so what do I mean by that? So I like to kind of give examples. I think it's more helpful that way. So example one, let's say we have somebody who comes in and says, I want to run a 5K in 18 minutes. Okay, let's say. Is it specific? Yes. Okay, running a 5K in 18 minutes. Is it measurable? Yes, we can measure if we ran a 5K in 18 minutes. Is it attainable? Now, if this person said that they ran a 5K last month in 27 minutes, is it going to be attainable for a 6-week program to be able to get it from 27 to 18 minutes? I'm going to say probably not. Okay. So again, attainable, probably not going to be attainable. So then we have to restructure that. So coming down from a 27-minute maybe to a 25-minute, which you'll see is the A goal on the left side of the screen here. So I want to run a 5K in 25 minutes. Great. Okay, that is attainable, relevant, it's time-based. Then we go into those A, B, and C goals. Okay, so A goal is, okay, that's the best goal. That's what I want to do. Ultimately, run a 5K in 25 minutes. B goal. Well, maybe, if it's not the best day, maybe weather conditions aren't good, I want to run a 5K in 26 minutes. Okay. C goal. If your 5K is 27 minutes, maybe you can just say, I want a PR, right? I want a personal best. I want a personal record in the 5K. On the right side of the screen, Some other examples of A, B, and C goals, not necessarily related to time, although still time-based, okay? A, run a 5K in 25 minutes. B, run a 5K without walking, okay? So we can still run a 5K. Perhaps maybe you don't want to walk, maybe in that A goal, but in the B goal you say, you know what, it's okay, I can take some walk breaks, okay? And your C goal could just be simply to finish the 5K, all right? So that's one of the examples. And then a second example I like to use is, okay, we have a goal of wanting to finish a 5K. That's a really great goal. That's a very good goal that I know a lot of you guys have. I want to think about it a little bit more in terms of these SMART goals, right? So finish a 5K. Is it specific? Maybe. Okay. We're hoping to finish a 5K. Is it measurable? Yes. Can be measurable. Do we finish it? Do we not finish it? Is it achievable? Absolutely. Okay. Is it relevant? Yes. Is it time bound? No. Okay. So what do we need it to be time bound, right? We want to finish a 5K. Okay. We don't have to say I want to finish a 5K in an hour and 50 minutes and 40 minutes. That's not necessarily what we mean by time bound. We can say I want to finish a 5K by May 12th, right? So May 12th is our date of when that penultimate 5K that we partnered with Fusion Racing, that's when that race is. So we can say by the end of the day, May 12th, I want to finish a 5K, right? And then we can further clarify by saying, do we want to walk? Do we want to jog? Walk, jog. You can see that in these A, B, and C goals here on this slide. Perhaps a B goal for this would be, not even focusing on that 5K, saying to yourself, okay, what if I just complete 80% of the scheduled training plan? Absolutely, that's a valid goal. C goal. What if I just show up to the 5K? Absolutely, that's a valid goal as well. Okay, so we have to be able to, number one, make sure that these goals that you have are SMART, right? And then two, we have to make sure that the goals that you have are tiered, okay? Because again, your race day might not be perfect, and that's okay. But I want us to be able to celebrate the achievements that we do along the way, right? Celebrate the journey, okay? So that's step one, all right? Second step is understanding terminology, all right? So we're going to get a little bit detailed here about the terminology that you might see on your training plan for this first week, because again, we have an extra week, we have 7 weeks. I want you to focus on your goals, okay? Clarify your goals, which was step one, all right? And then look at your training plan. Look to see if there's anything that you have concerns about, questions about, and see if there's anything you would like to change depending on what those clarifications of the goals are. That's what we're here for. I want you to let me know so that we can change your plan so that it is achievable for you, okay? So that's the first step, right? Second step, understanding terminology, all right? This is going to be relatively quick because we're going to have these definitions here on the slides for you, all right? So you're going to see rest, strength, and cross training. Everybody's going to have these on their training plans. These are just as important as the running or the runs that you're going to do during your training, especially rest, okay? When you see rest on your training plan, you're not going to do anything that day. You're going to rest, relax, recover, foam roll, stretch, etc. Strength, okay? If you remember at Dun Dun, we have our strength days, full body on Monday and Friday. We have our Suns Out, Guns Out on Wednesdays. Those are your strength days, all right? Normally strength is about 30 minutes or less. You can use weights or body weight. If you're not a member of Dun Dun, we're going to be including some strength exercises on the Healthy Steps Nutrition app that you can do during your strength days, okay? And be mindful that these strengths are going to be, again, 30 minutes or less. It's going to be low effort, all right? And we'll talk about that in a couple of slides as well. Cross training, okay? Cross training is anything that will build your aerobic base, will get your heart rate up. That is not running, okay? So DECA, for those of us who are Dun Dun members, we have on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We have power walking as a cross training exercise, elliptical, spinning, bikes, swimming, Stairmaster, volleyball, sports. Those are cross training activities that you can do. And cross training can be done at various intensities as well, okay? So it can be done at low intensity, medium intensity, high intensity, and that will depend on your specific training plan and your specific goals, all right? All right, so getting into running terminology here, okay? So easy runs, all right? Easy runs are going to be very easy effort. And when I say easy runs, it could be easy walk, it could be easy jog. Again, walk, jog, walk, run. easy, okay? Your heart rate should stay in zone 2, no more than zone 3, okay? We want to keep the easy days easy and the hard days hard. We want to make sure that we're stressing the right systems here. This should feel, again, like a very easy effort to build your aerobic base. So, like we said, does not have to be running, okay? Can be walking, and then your heart rate can be in zone 2 or 3 when walking. The goal here is so that we can build an aerobic base so that you can maintain a lower heart rate with increased activity, okay? More to come on that a little bit later. So let's talk about easy pace, okay? This can also be referred to as a conversation pace. I don't necessarily like using conversation pace as our easy pace because, at least in my personal experience, I cannot have a conversation while I'm running. Sometimes I can't even have a conversation when I'm walking. So it's really hard for me to judge what an easy pace would be, okay? So instead, easy pace, again, we're going to go off of those heart rates, okay? So heart rate should stay in zone 2, no more than zone 3. All right. It's a pace that you could hypothetically keep forever if you were continuously fueled, rested, etc., without any external stressors. Okay. You can calculate your heart rate zones roughly, or more accurately, use heart rate monitoring systems. So at the gym at Dundon, we have MyZone, which is that heart rate strap monitoring, where you also see people wearing it on their arm. That's a really good way of monitoring your heart. Also has different colors to let you know what zone you're in with those colors. I believe blue and green are zones 2 and 3 respectively. Zones 4 and 5 are yellow and red respectively. So on these easy days, on these easy walks, runs, you should be in the blue or the green zone, zones 2 or 3, right? We should also mention that the warm up and cool down that you'll see in your training plan should also be done at easy pace, okay? Next is our long run. Long runs are typically 15 to 20% of our weekly mileage, and you'll see that reflected in your training plans. We want to focus on starting slow to make sure we're consistent with our paces and not slowing down in the later miles, all right? Your long runs can be in zones 3, 4, 5. Okay, we don't necessarily worry about zone training with our long runs, all right? But again, we like to start slower, okay? Intervals. Intervals are used to denote fast running with little rest. The general feeling is of an uncomfortable pace at a speed that's harder and harder to handle over longer distances. A specific amount of bouts at a specific distance, at a specific speed, at a specific recovery. Okay, so for example, you might see on your training plan, you're going to do 5 rounds of 5 minutes of running at an 8-minute per mile pace with a 90-second recovery in between to get your heart rate down to 120 beats per minute, okay? If you're a novice or a newer runner, you will not see intervals on your training plan, okay? Intervals are very specific, mostly to time goals, but for the novice or the newer runner, we want to focus on just building that aerobic base, okay? We don't want to do too many things at once here, okay? That being said, getting into what we can do as novice or newer runners are fartleks, okay? It's a funny word. It's a Swedish word for that means speed play, essentially. And it is similar to intervals, but with limited structure, okay? So for example, if you can imagine a track, a fartlek would be that you sprint or jog the straightaways and then you walk the curves. So that's kind of like still kind of tight like an interval, but again, less structured. All right. Tempo or threshold runs, you'll hear interchangeably, usually defined as a steady state run at a specific pace. Specifically for running, this is our current best average pace for a 60-minute run. Okay, so if it takes you 60 minutes to run a 10K, that's about, I guess, a 9-minute per mile pace. That 9-minute per mile pace is going to be your threshold or tempo pace. Don't worry about calculating these values. That's my job. Okay, this is just to help you get into and understanding what these definitions are and where they come from. Recovery, okay? Recovery, you'll see in your training plans, it's typically used during your effort workouts, meaning during your speed workouts, your interval workouts, tempo workouts, to allow your heart rate to decrease before continuing to exert bouts of effort. So again, like the interval example, if we have 5 rounds of 5 minutes at a specific pace. In between those rounds, there's going to be a certain time of recovery, and that recovery can be resting, meaning you can just sit down, it can be standing, it can be a light jog, whatever you need to do to get your heart rate back down to where it needs to be, normally around 120, zone 2, okay? Strides, right? Strides, where we start with a slower, quick step that will feel easy, and then it's progressed into lengthened step with increased speed. Okay, we like to keep our torso tall and relaxed with strides. Essentially, we're talking about cadence here. Okay, we won't see a lot of that in the training plans, but I like to include that just in case. All right, so first step, again, clarifying your goals, okay? That's the number one thing you're going to do this week. You're going to clarify your goals, all right? And then you're going to look at your training plan and make sure that your training plan is reflecting what goals you would like to complete and if your time can accommodate your training plan. That's what we're here for. I want you to let me know if that's not the case, okay? Step 2, understanding terminology, right? We have to understand the terminology in our training plan to know what we're expected to do, to know what we're doing, all right? Step 3, understanding our running plan. Why are we doing these things, right? Why does our training plan look the way that it does? I want to talk about why your running plan is structured like that. I find that this is important that you understand this so you can remain motivated on the days where you would rather not stick to your running plan, because we all have those days, right? So this is my physiology running philosophy, and I really do like this picture. Number one, because it's memorable, so hopefully you remember my analogy here, but number two, because it helps me explain my bucket analogy, okay? So what is my bucket analogy? Think of your body's capacity to endure physical activity, or in this case, running, as the size of a bucket. As you start exercising, byproducts such as lactic acid start to build up and fill the bucket. Your body is able to recycle byproducts that build up to a certain extent, depending on your current fitness level, the intensity and duration of the activity you are doing, etc. When the bucket becomes full, at which point your body's ability to get rid of that production of the byproducts is greater than your body's ability to clear those byproducts, the bucket will overflow, right? So and I apologize if I didn't say that correctly, I want to clarify. If your body's producing all of these byproducts and it's filling and filling and filling the bucket, and your body's trying to get rid of that, but then the amount of byproduct keeps building despite your body's getting rid of what it can, it's going to start to overflow the bucket. And that's when we start to experience muscle fatigue, shortness of breath, etc., while exercising, okay? So these specific workouts in your workout plan are intended to do two things. Number one, we want to increase the size of the bucket, okay? And number two, we want to make a hole at the bottom of the bucket to help your body adapt to more intense physical activity, okay? So how do we do that? Number one, the 80-20 method, okay? Again, we want to keep easy days easy and hard days hard. Okay, 80% of your workouts during the week will be easy and 20% will be hard. This helps to increase that size of the bucket, helps to increase that aerobic capacity, all right? Then we talk about efforts, okay? Efforts are the number of hard workouts you have per week. Again, 20% of the number of workouts you're going to have are going to be hard efforts. 80% are going to be easy, okay? And in a training plan, you'll probably see that reflected as strength days. We would like to be easy, right? Easy runs, easy walks, we would like to be easy. And when we say easy, go back to that terminology, right? Easy should be zone 2, maximum zone 3, okay? Most of our workouts should be easy in those zones, in those aerobic zones, okay? When we talk about efforts or hard workouts, that's when we don't necessarily care about what zone we're in. We are exerting as much effort. We're keeping those hard days hard, okay? The number of efforts that you have per week is going to depend on your current fitness level and your goals, okay? So for more newer or novice runners, you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 efforts during the week. And for more advanced runners, we're going to have maybe 5 or so, okay? And sometimes advanced runners can have 2. Again, it depends on what your goals are, all right? So for example, okay, like I had mentioned, strength or suns out, guns out. Okay, we want to keep easy. Okay, so that's going to be an easy day. That's technically not going to be considered an effort. Okay, if you have a strength or a suns out, guns out on the same day as, let's say, a long run, okay, which I know a lot of you guys do have, the long run is going to be considered an effort. Okay, so you're going to have one effort that day, even if you have two workouts, right? We have strength and then we have the long run. There are two workouts, but only one of them is going to be an effort. Okay, that's not necessarily important for you to kind of calculate how many efforts you have per day. It does come in handy when if we get concerned that we're not going to be able to complete all of the workouts that we have planned. Okay, because then we want to touch base, want to say, okay, what workouts can we do? What do we need to prioritize? And then we can get into those details. Okay, so again, if you're concerned about not having enough time to be able to complete the workouts on your schedule, please let me know. We can work together to prioritize your workouts depending on your current fitness, all right, which will determine the number of efforts per week, and your program goals, which will determine which workouts to prioritize. Right? Step 4, injury prevention, all right? And really this should be step 1, but step 4 in the timeline of what we need to think about. Of course, we don't want you to get injured. I know you don't want to get injured. By incorporating all the things we talked about, the 80-20 method, having the customized training plan, open communication, strength training, cross training, stretching, which we'll talk about in a minute, as well as nutrition, rest, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we prevent any injuries from occurring, right? However, if you do find yourself injured or suspecting that you have suffered an injury, please let us know immediately. We want to be able to refer you to the right specialist to help, and we don't want you to do anything to exacerbate that injury. Okay. As a note at the bottom of the slide here, technical form training. The first 1 or 2 group workouts that we'll have on Sunday, I believe they are both at the Dun parking lot. And again, we'll give you the information on the time through Healthy Steps Nutrition and the Dun Running Club. That being said, we want to make sure if you can make it to one or both of them, that would be very helpful if you're worried about your form, even if walking or jogging, because what we want to do is make sure that you are not going to increase your risk for injuring yourself. Just give me 1 second because my computer is low on battery, so I do have to plug it in here. But the one thing I wanted to mention about the running form is that I like to focus on waist up, upper body running form, because from what I've learned in the certification program for Runners of America, it can be very difficult, especially for newer or novice runners, to be able to learn how to get better at their foot strikes. So you might see people, maybe online, people talking about like heel strike, mid strike, toe strike, and it's really difficult for, again, novice and sometimes even advanced runners to understand exactly what's going on. So focusing on the upper body, what we do with our arms, midline, what we do with our hands, that can sometimes, if we can control that, then we can have more control in our lower body as well. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull it. All right, I apologize about that. Okay. All right, so moving on here. So stretching, okay? So there's evidence showing that dynamic stretching before a workout and static stretching after a workout is most beneficial. All right, so dynamic stretching is the moving stretching, so like those Frankensteins, moving or pulling on a muscle for range of motion. Maybe like if seeing people do this for their upper arms, that's a dynamic stretch. Static stretching is when they are stretching your arm, just holding it there for 10 to 60 seconds, however long. We are going to create a stretching plan that is very, hopefully, simple to follow, that you can do before you are running and your overall workouts to help prevent any injuries. But you would like to, or we would like you to be warm before stretching, right? Because if you go into it just into those dynamic stretches, that's actually going to increase your risk for injury. So you need to be warm, maybe walking or light jogging for maybe 5 minutes or so before you get into the dynamic stretching. That's preferable. But we're going to upload some of that information on the Healthy Steps Nutrition app as well. Okay. All right, nutrition, speaking of, right? So nutrition, food is essential for fuel and recovery here, okay? It's extremely important in general, but especially for running. We need food and hydration just for, again, fuel. Food is fuel, right? So we like to use the plate method. Again, Healthy Steps Nutrition has a really good plate method. Half the plate is vegetables, and then a quarter of the plate would be carbs, and a quarter would be protein. Carbs are not bad. Okay, we need carbs. Carbs are our main source of energy, right? After carbs are used, especially when running, then our body resorts to fat. Okay, so fat's not a bad thing either, right? Protein, major building block to help with muscle growth and muscle regeneration. All right. So again, using that Healthy Steps Nutrition, that plate method. Color matters too, right? You want to have diversity in the color that you're seeing on your plate. And then finally, drink plenty of water. Okay, even on the days when you're not working out, when you're not running, when you're not exercising, you need to be hydrated. And of course, especially during those runs, before, during, and after. All right. This is just a very superficial overview of nutrition. If you have any specific questions about nutrition for you, what you should eat before running or during the day, let us know, ask us, and we'll try to give you some guidance as well. Okay. That being said, when we talk about fueling during your run, okay, two specific concepts here. All right. Fueling during your run is important for runs that are longer than 45 to 60 minutes. Okay. And most of your training plans, your runs are not going to be longer than 60 minutes. So we're not going to need a lot of fueling during your runs. That's because as long as your nutrition and hydration is adequate every other day and other days while you're not running, you should not have to add any extra fuel for those runs. Now, of course, you can always have a simple carbohydrate. You probably have seen like goo gels or gummies to get some, again, simple carbohydrate sugars in your body. But mostly that's going to be used for long runs. So for most of us doing this 5K, we're not going to need any extra fuel. But that being said, if you are out running or jogging or walking for 30, 45 minutes and you feel that you need some extra energy, it's okay maybe to have some gummies or again some of these gels after that 45 to 60 minutes. So that's the one, or the first concept I wanted to talk about. The second concept is that for these 5K specifically, you do not need to eat a full meal, okay? I don't want you to eat a full meal prior to the 5K, right? Because if you're eating a full meal, then your body's stuck between the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, and the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. So it doesn't know whether to digest or run, all right? So we need to make sure if you're going to eat before a race that you do it at least 2 hours before. And we'll talk all about this in our pre-race planning and our check-ins, but that's the second concept, right? You don't have to eat a full meal just prior to the 5K, okay? Again, this goes back to just general nutrition, making sure that nutrition on a daily basis is adequate, okay? Some common concerns, okay? Some things that I noticed in the intake forms, all right? So all of this is related to sports psychology. The way that our mind works directly affects the body and vice versa, all right? Number one, I don't enjoy running. Well, I hope that we can change that, right? I absolutely hated running. Like I said, in high school, I dreaded it, but now I don't know what I would do without it. Some of the reasons why I didn't enjoy it, and perhaps these could resonate with you. Number one, I didn't feel like I was good at it, right? Number two, I ended up suffering multiple injuries because I didn't have any guidance. Number three, I didn't have a support system. With this program, we hope to provide you with that running knowledge base and tools to succeed in running, okay? Second one, right? I'll never run again like I did in high school, okay? Maybe, right? Maybe not, okay? But we can't live in the past. We have to focus on what we're doing now. We have to focus on how we can be grateful of what our body can do now, okay? We have so much potential that's unlocked or not unlocked at this point, right? What if I can't run outside? Or what if I don't have a treadmill, right? As we said before, you can run pretty much anywhere. It doesn't matter where you run. The only thing that matters is doing it. Running on the treadmill might be a little bit easier effort-wise than running outside, and that's because, of course, the treadmill keeps going, right? We don't have to keep up that pace consistently, okay? But that is okay if you want to use the treadmill or have to use the treadmill, especially if it's dark outside, you don't feel safe, if the weather isn't adequate. Getting your running or getting your activity in is the most important thing, okay? What about I can't regulate my breathing, right? That's what we're here for, okay? Maybe you haven't had guidance on this before, right? That's what we're here for, okay? Again, building that aerobic base, building that size of the bucket, that's going to help you regulate your breathing. And then finally, I look silly when I run, okay? Phoebe from Friends, right? This is what this GIF is from, or this meme. So I promise you, okay? When somebody sees you running, that's not what they're thinking, okay? I know you were like, oh, how could they think otherwise, right? They're sitting in their car, wherever they are, and they're looking at you running, right? Jogging, walking, right? And they're like, look at that badass person, right? Look at that person doing what I'm not doing, okay? So I want you to try to focus less on what you think of what others are thinking of you, right? And again, trying to appreciate what your body can do, okay? And again, if we're concerned more so about form and wanting to make sure that we're not getting injured, that's something that we're going to address as well, okay? All right, some final thoughts, all right? Treat change with caution, okay? Minimal change is key. It doesn't have to hurt, and it shouldn't. Running faster, running longer, running up and down hills, they're changes that need to be introduced slowly, right? We always have to start well off within our capacity. That's just how the body's physiology works as well, right? We can't introduce too many stressors at once. We have to introduce stressors slowly, one at a time, all right? Using nutrition as an example. If we're not eating anything before we work out in the mornings, we're not going to suddenly start eating things while we incorporate this new training plan, okay? The training plan is a stressor in and of itself, right? Increasing or incorporating these runs, walks, jogs, etc. That's going to be a stressor. So we have to take things slowly here, all right? Think of running as a contact sport. Time after time, stride after stride, a runner will make contact with the ground with force that's greater than their body weight, right? Respect that and adhere to the minimal change policy, all right? Allow time and rest for your muscles, tendons, heart, etc. to adapt. And finally, maintain flexibility and listen to your body. If you need to rest, rest. You're not going to disappoint me if you need to rest, all right? I want you to listen to your body. You know your body best, okay? So if you wake up one day, you're sore, you're worried about an injury, let me know, okay? I don't want you to force yourself into doing something, right? Listen to your body, okay? Finally, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, this is the phone number for our Dun Dun Coaches phone. So please text if you have any questions, concerns, etc. Give us about 24 hours to respond, but we have it on us on a daily basis. So specifically about the running plan as well. So again, right, goals that we talked about this first week, you're going to clarify what goals you want for this program, for the 6-week program, okay? Once we can clarify those goals, you're going to look at your schedule, okay? And you're going to make sure that, number one, it reflects how we're going to accomplish those goals. And you're going to make sure that your schedule, your own personal schedule, can accommodate that, okay? If not, you let me know, all right? We're going to make those changes. We're going to make sure your plan reflects what you need it to, okay? Then we'll delve into everything else, okay? All right, look forward to working with you guys.